Assalamu alaikum, and good morning. First, I want to thank and let's say welcome to our chairperson, Mr. Haque Choudhury, the Honourable Minister for Mole, as well as the Ministry of Expatriates, Welfare and Overseas Employment. Our chief guest, Mr. Nazrul, the Honourable Advisor to the Prime Minister. Our special guest, Mr. Mahdi, Amin, Honourable Advisor to the Prime Minister. The Secretary for the Ministry of Labour and Employment, the Inspector General for DIFE, delegates from the Employers and National Workers' Party, respected relevant partners, media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and thank you for attending today's event. For those who I haven't met yet, I'm Ron Johnson. I am a Labour Inspector from Canada and I work as a technical specialist, Labour Inspection at ILO. So if anything flies towards me from this so I'm safe, security, don't remove them, that's okay. So following my colleague and his very strong presentation, I'll be talking about the conventions, the ratifications, the achievements in Bangladesh, and where we are and where we're going. So today is about Osh, it's Osh Day. We're talking about health and safety. But we also have to think about the context in which we are living in Bangladesh, with recent events, some emerging hazards, including physical and environmental risks, as well as workplace, organizational, and psychosocial risks, which contribute to health and safety. So, with the challenges, and everything has happened, like has been said in the past 15 years and more, there is a lot of challenges here in Bangladesh, but Bangladesh is pushing back hard and doing a lot to combat this. And just in the past year, Bangladesh has ratified 3 conventions. 2 are the foundational ones for OSH, which now means all have been ratified for the foundational conventions, and C190, which is violence and harassment. And some will say, well, this is not an OSH convention. I would like to challenge that notion and say, when it comes to these conventions, not only are they a very important part of OSH, they work as a whole. So many years ago, Bangladesh ratified C. It was with Labour Inspection and DIFE, our inspectorate here in the country. But C-155 deals with the physical reality, the interaction between persons and their physical working environment, while C-187 deals with promotional frameworks or the structures and policies and procedures which overarch the interaction between the person and the physical working environment. But beyond that, there is C-190, which deals with violence, harassment, psychosocial impacts, which is the social, mental, and human interaction between individuals in the workplace. So while they're separate items and they have a structure and appear to be hierarchical or separate, in actuality they interact. They're all important. They must all be dealt with and worked together as a unit, because when you come into work, yes, your physical body will in fact interact with your environment. You will have to deal with the structures that are in place, but you also will have to deal with the social dynamic and the stresses in your work. So, we've been spending a lot more time preparing for C-155 and C-187. C-190, not as much, but it's coming along. So when you look at what's contained in those conventions, where are the gaps? Where are the places where there's more challenges to ensure that Bangladesh meets those standards? And there's a few. This is going back to present. So we're looking at implementation across sectors. As has been mentioned, there has been more focus on certain sectors for various reasons. This could be risk, major issues that have come, so reactive incidents, while some have had less focus, and some, because of the structure and the legality, are in the informal economy, so the inspectorate has less regular access to those workplaces. So that's an important gap. But speaking as a labor inspector, there's always at least some gap between the coordination, the policy, and the practice. So how do we get the emerging, changing practice and integrate it and have the policy pieces work with what's happening on the ground? And I think with the ratification and the BLA, there's been a lot more discussion about the labor inspection constraints. So where are there gaps in actual inspections? So C81, where are there still some pieces where we need to catch up? Is there workplace participation and enforcement? So again, when it comes to the environment and the procedures in place, there's some challenges regarding dialogue, unions, which are very, very important, and some other pieces there. And some OSH systems are not fully operational, as is required under the conventions. And again, for 190, which is a little less understood, what we need to focus on here is the aspects of it. So workplace stress, having excessive workloads, long working hours, violence and harassment, be it against persons or women, gender-based violence and harassment, or and this will also lead to underreporting, but think of it like this. If you are stressed at work, if you are it makes you distracted at work, so you're less safe at work. But if you're feeling harassed or if you're feeling not heard, you'll also be less likely to report health and safety issues in the workplace, which will lead to a less safe workplace. So with these challenges, when it comes to compliance and ratification, where are the areas where we need to fill the gaps? So, to comply with the conventions as they are stated and ratified, we need to look at strengthening the labor inspection system, ensure there's a fully operationalized OSH framework, integrate psychosocial and emerging risks. And these items I'll talk a bit more in the next slides, as I've been told to be a bit faster so we have more time to have a Q&A later, and nobody wants to be late for lunch. We also have to expand coverage to all workers and sectors. So right now we cover about 15%. For the informal, it's approximately 85%. We need to be able to expand beyond that 15%, and not just be in RNG, and not just be in Dhaka. We also have to strengthen data systems, evidence-based action, and drive preventive, coordinated, and system-wide action. So what have we done? How have we done so far? How has Bangladesh responded and prepared for ratification, and how has it continued to improve and achieve? So recently, with the new government, the BLA amendment has gone through. So BLA amendment 2026, which does expand some OSH protections and gives more powers to the inspectorate. The national OSH policy is existing and currently being updated, and there is a plan of action in place. Ratification actually will align Bangladesh better, as we discussed, with international labor standards. And we have broadening recognition of workplace risks. So this may be more specifically targeted when we're looking at the updates to the Bangladesh labor rules, the BLR, which is currently being worked on. So a number of the changes to the BLA, where there is maybe some confusion or gaps, where there's more detail or specific application that's necessary, or OSH issues or emerging risks, these would be going into the BLR to make legislation more complete and to give the inspectorate the ability to action these things when they're doing their inspections. So more specifically to what we also have been doing, so there's the strengthening of DIFE. So with the update of the legislation and the current activities and actions, we have a stronger inspector capacity based on some of the training and other information we've imparted and we brought forward internally. With more labor inspectors have been deployed, more are needed. With the 180 work plan that's been discussed, more are coming. And there's this enhanced administrative authority for the inspectors under the VLA. We've also established Australia, which is utilized not only for sustainability, they're also the training center and Osh Center of Expatriates for Bangladesh. So they will provide the training for DIFE for the inspectorate as part of the 5-year plan, and also provide some training for Osh professionals, those throughout the country. They will also be conducting research on emerging risks and supporting evidence-based policy. So if you were in our research conference last year, and the second one coming later this year, next month we're also having a workshop to look at what are the emerging risks, what are the issues of concern, and from there we will generate 3 research topics towards 3 universities in Bangladesh to study these to present at the next research conference later this year. We were also introducing risk-based inspections, so we have strategic compliance. But this has been brought forward before, but what we're trying to do now, it's the reshaping or the change from a reactive to a proactive inspectorate. So with strategic compliance, you have to focus on higher risk sectors, be strategic in your planning. And what we're doing is working closely with DIFE to do a focused pilot in 5 cities throughout outside of Dhaka, in 6 industries that are not RNG and are not tanneries at the moment, and look at the 1-year plan to how to be more strategic and integrate this type of proactive work into the work of the inspectorate. And we also have LIMA, which is already in force, but LIMA 2.0 will be an improvement on this data tracking system, which will then, in the new version, also have more analytics and give the inspectors the better ability to track data and look at trends. So, more globally, what we're doing now and how we will continue to improve, what is the focus? So, with the inspectorate, with the work with Bangladesh, and working towards integration and compliance with the conventions, we are doing more targeted inspections. So instead of just random reactive inspections, we're looking at, okay, from the data we have received and processed, what are the high-risk industries? Is there a hazard focus we need to look at? So from the last year, we've been looking at things like fire safety, climate change and heat stress, chemical safety. These are all important issues that need to be focused on. We will have some sessions this year on those issues. We're also looking at priority workplaces as well within the high-risk industries. Industries including aquaculture, salt farming, etc. Beyond that, we also looked at increased OSH awareness. So we have training, specifically with North South University, ITC, and Nostri. There is course information and training on OSH, health and safety, but this will include things like a bigger focus on occupational disease and longer-term care issues and concerns. And the more awareness sessions, which we'll have a few this year, and sectoral engagement. So again, focusing on workplaces and industries that have had less focus. So, and beyond that, we try to, so doing this, having this focus, going through this information, getting better data, we can use this focus to create better tools, more focused tools, to improve compliance long term, to have more corrective actions, and part of strategic compliance is also looking at strategic joint interventions. So if an inspector is going to somewhere in aquaculture and they're going to a plant, they want to look at supply chain, they want to look at food safety, why not do an inspection with someone from food safety, someone from the Ministry of Health, etc. So, and I'm taking too long. So I need to say, am I too fast or am I too slow? Okay, last slide. We have to go from, again, a reactive to a preventive, proactive inspectorate. So, final slide before we go to our Q&A. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot to look at. And for bringing forward and ratifying these 3 very large, impactful conventions, it's a huge aid to Bangladesh. And a lot of work from a lot of people in this room, inside this room, and congratulations to all the work done so far. There's more work to do, and a lot of work has been done, but I think as we stand, Bangladesh is in a good position. We have very strong people, very good people who are very invested in ensuring that ratification is not just a tick box, it's implementation to make the workplaces and the lives of Bangladeshis across the country better, safer, and sustainable. So thank you for having us here. Thank you for all of your hard work, the continued work to come, and now we'll have a Q&A, which we'll organize, but thank you very much.